With Aero Rover being released in 2.2, they are going to bring some pretty unique mechanics to the table, and thankfully in this game, we get a reasonably strong main character. In this video, we're going to be going over what we can expect from the newest iteration of Rover, including their primary roles, kit and rotation, skill level priority, a few teams to showcase their potential upon release, and my general impression. The information in this video is based on stats and data from beta, so please be aware that changes can happen, and if anything major changes, I'll let you know in the comments below. Based on what we know so far, Aero Rover is going to fill the following roles. There'll be a team-wide healer, a quick concerto generator, which will be good as a hybrid healer and support, a good example of this being Brant, albeit Brant's personal damage is much higher, an Aero damage amplifier, which will be attached to their weapon, but the Aero damage amplify buff can only be activated by Rover. This buff is currently at 20.8% Aero damage amplify at R5, which is almost as high as Alto's Aero damage amplify at 23%, but Aero Rover's weapon buff is team-wide. And last, an Aero erosion enabler, but this won't be very useful upon release, so we'll mostly focus on the other roles, and this will be explained why later in the kit section. And now we can go over Aero Rover's kit and rotation. The most important part of Aero Rover's kit, at least as an Aero damage amplifier and quick concerto generator, is their Forte circuit Unbound Flow, which can be cast once your Forte is full, can be cast twice, generates a ton of concerto energy, and is what triggers Rover's unique weapon buff that will amplify all Aero characters' Aero damage. In order to cast Aero Rover's Forte, you will need to generate 120 Forte energy called Wind Strings. Wind Strings, or Forte energy, can be obtained in several ways, but an easy way to generate these is by using your intro, which will give you 20, and immediately start auto-attacking right after your intro to perform Cloudburst Dance, which does damage and heals. Cloudburst Dance can be cast twice and generates 25 wind strings for each cast, giving an additional 50 Forte energy. After performing your Cloudburst Dance, cast your Resonance skill and immediately do 2 more auto attacks to perform 2 more Cloudburst Dance. This will give you the last 50 Forte energy you need to perform Aero Rover's Forte. Your Resonance skill will now become Unbound Flow, which you will cast twice to do both stages of the ability as it generates a ton of concerto energy and gives you that team-wide Aero damage amplify. Now that your Aero damage amplify is active, use your Resonance Liberation, which also heals, generate any leftover concerto you need with dodge counters and abilities, then swap to intro into the next character. And now for a couple quick things to note about their kit. Aero Rover's energy cost for their Liberation is 150, which is a medium amount of energy recharge as characters like Brant and Shorekeeper, who are energy recharge scaling, cost 175. Many DPS characters have a smaller energy recharge cost, often 125, but since Rover's weapon has an energy recharge substat, they shouldn't have too many issues generating their energy, even with the slightly higher energy cost. And now for the most important thing to note. Aero Rover will have a secondary skill after you use the first one called Skyfall Severance, which will remove any negative status effects on the enemy, and for each type you consume, inflict 1 stack of Aero Erosion. The problem is that currently the only characters that can inflict negative status on the enemy are Spectre Rover, which you won't be able to use since you're running Rover, and Phoebe. If you're running Phoebe as support, removing her Spectro Frazzle damage will massively reduce the amount of damage she would contribute, causing this type of team to lack synergy. After testing a bit, you can see that the maximum stacks of Aero Erosion is 3, and the damage of Aero Erosion is not very high, similar to Spectro Frazzle. Aero Rover's outro increases the maximum stacks of Aero Erosion by 3, totaling 6, but since we don't have any reliable way of getting to 6 stacks right now, this part of their kit, at least upon their release, will not matter very much until we get new characters, or some crazy echo that can tack on several different elements for Rover to convert into Aero Erosion. Of course, Kuro is definitely cooking up something with this, but as for at release, don't expect too much out of Aero Erosion. And now, for some solid team options upon Aero Rover's release. The first team I want to go over is a solid one, and that's going to be Aero Rover, Alto, and Gian. Finally, Alto can be competitive with Mortefi, as not only is the damage getting very close thanks to Alto's personal damage being moderately high, but allows for a bit more utility with Alto having the only taunt in the game so far. Comparing Aero Rover with Shorekeeper as the main healer, you can see that Aero Rover will still be strong, but fall a bit short thanks to all of Shorekeeper's buffs. Having said that, Aero Rover can free up your Shorekeeper. And for a solid 4-star team with Aero Rover, and probably the team I'm personally most excited for, you can try Rover, Sanwa, and Alto, as this team will provide a ton of damage amplification for Alto, and on the second rotation, Alto can buff Rover with his arrow damage amplification. Since the rotation is so short on this team, Aero Rover will be able to pick up their own damage amplification, which you can't see here, but will make the second rotation a bit stronger. This team can be a solid choice for holograms, as not only do you have a team that rotates between characters frequently, allowing for a ton of vibration damage to break the enemy, but you'll have a heal, a taunt, and a ranged damage dealer to deal with frequently moving or flying enemies. And finally, we can go over my conclusion. As an amplifier, Aero Rover is pretty good, since they serve a dual role as a healer and amplifier. Aero Rover sequences so far provide more healing and damage increases to their kit, which is good since they'll feel mostly complete as soon as you get them. Rover's full potential will not be unlocked right away, since the only character that can inflict negative status for Rover to convert into Arrow Erosion is Phoebe. There is an Echo set coming that will likely buff with the condition that the enemy will have Arrow Erosion inflicted, but currently there's no synergistic way to inflict this debuff. This means that upon release, they'll feel pretty niche to play, heavily favoring mono arrow teams, but can free up your other healers for other teams. Kuro is definitely cooking up something for Aero Rover, and even if we don't get those characters right away, Aero Rover has decent value even with current characters. If you got something useful out of this video, please leave a like and subscribe, as I'll be making a similar video for Cantarella before her release. If you could think of some other synergistic teams that weren't mentioned here, feel free to put those teams in the comments. And thank you for watching.